Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, I think, he's one play away, from going into an actual game, and don't want to take the risk there in that situation. We got a lot of our 3s and 4s playing in this game. It's their last opportunity to go prove it, to make a 53-man roster, and that's where it's at.
That's Shane Steichen a little bit earlier today regarding Anthony Richardson not playing in preseason Game 3 because he's a play away and there's too much of a risk. Well, there's too much of a risk every time he goes out. But I will say this, the whole needs more time and all this, when you actually have time, that a guy that needs time can be playing and he doesn't. Listen. I know we all sit in a spot right now where everything this group does seemingly is going to be wrong until further notice. It just will, because that's how everybody feels. I tried to explain this to you in fuller detail a couple of days ago. It's not just about one side or the other right here. It's about the entirety, the operation. You just don't believe in it until you see results that prove otherwise. And you understand that you've got backups to the backups out there, but on the sideline for your backup, who needs, as everybody in that organization has talked about, anybody with any authority needs time. And you have that time and you don't play at all. Do you just not trust him 2 seconds? Do you not trust him 2 seconds, or are you afraid if he goes out there and slings a couple of arrows down the field and looks good, you're going to make things worse? Because somebody's going to have to explain this entire thing to me just beyond the one play away bullcrap. Jake and I were having the conversation about quarterbacks coach Cam Turner effectively saying, well, I've done all I can do. Now, I think we all understand he didn't mean that, but that reverts back to what I just mentioned. Anything they say, anything they do, until they prove otherwise, you're going to take that the negative direction. That's just where you are with this group right now. And frankly, it's where you've been for a while, but especially here as of late. People had asked me, and somebody actually asked me online, all right, so why are you mad? And my explanation was, well, first things first, I'm not mad, but my opinion about this is no matter the decision, it was going to come with a great deal of criticism. There's just no way around it. And my criticism isn't because of Daniel Jones or Daniel Jones beating out Anthony Richardson or it actually being a quarterback competition, which was something I didn't believe in. No, it's about the operation again. The operation is the thing. It starts everything, and it's got more non-believers than anybody right now. And it just seems to get worse. I can't sit here and tell you that he wouldn't get injured because we've seen it far too much. This is far too familiar. This is Anthony Richardson playing in preseason Game 3. If that were the case, hypothetically. I can't tell you that he wouldn't get injured, but I can also tell you what is any of this other stuff, not taking snaps and not practicing, which he's not going to be able to because Daniel Jones is going to get them all. Now, he's going to be the starter for the rest of the year, according to Shane Steichen. So what is with all this? We're going to end up getting back to the You got to be more transparent than this. Remember the transparency argument about 5 years ago? I don't know if we went a show. I know we certainly didn't go a day without utilizing the word transparency. I understand what you have to do. I understand what you have to do as, again, a football organization to try to protect information. But these guys are failing at that. It's great that your quarterback's coach has availability, but holy hell, can we be prompted a little bit better than that? I've done all I can do. All right, well, if you've done all you can do, maybe somebody else needs to get in there and see what they can do, because everybody else apparently has done all they can do, and then Anthony Richardson's done all he can do. Why is anybody here? If you've done all you can do, and this is it, why is anybody here? And that goes back to the point that I made a couple of days ago. If one guy wasn't going to start, this whole program seems quite useless right now. That's kind of how I feel about it. I'm not so much worried about him being injured. Are you more worried about him being injured in a meaningless preseason game 3, or more worried about sitting and thinking right now that this is one of the larger quarterback bust selections of all time? Goes right up there. I think I'm more worried about the latter. Hey, maybe the guy can better protect himself against the group that doesn't come with notoriety or protection. Surely to goodness nobody's worried that he's going to go out there and perform well, then all of a sudden re-spark a week leading up to the start of the season debate. You can't say the guy needs time and then not give the guy time when it's available. We know you've chosen a different quarterback, but if the guy needs time, there's some time right there. Give him time, because he's sure as hell not going to give time in practice. There's a preseason. Give him some time. I'm sorry. This is all bull crap and makes zero sense. No sense. The only thing that makes sense is this whole operation is what makes sense, because it doesn't make any. It's where we are. The Cam Turner stuff, James, you have that ready? I saw this. Shout out to James Boyd. I think James had this. Maybe Kevin had this. I know that they played that back this morning. I know it's been all over social media. And I will say this. This dude is not savvy media-wise, but this is what he had to say, the quarterback's coach, Cam Turner of the Colts, about Anthony Richardson's situation.
As a position coach, you want to see your guys succeed and be successful naturally. And, I feel like I've tried everything I can do, and I feel like he's given great effort in that aspect too. And I don't think either way it's one or the other. I just think, right now it's not where the consistency is just not where we want it to be.
Yeah, well, I would have just said the consistency is not where you want it to be, because I've done all I can do and he's working well. You can't, if he is failing to be a third-year Week 1 starter, then what you're doing isn't working, and what he is working toward isn't coming through. All right, the consistency is not there. What you're doing is you're telling everybody what they already see. And then we all go, oh, yeah, I understand that. There's no consistency there. Yeah, of course that's why they've chosen Daniel Jones. No consistency. But you can't say I've done all I can. If you've done all you can do, then get rid of him. Trade him. Get rid of him. If you've done all you can do, and then he's also worked, and he's just not gotten over that, and has he done all he can do? He's working really hard, but has he done? Yes. Then cut the ties then. Honestly, I think we all know deep down what was intended, what the point was being made, but it just sounds really dumb. And once again, incredibly problematic. Hell no, I'm not a believer in this guy. But yes, I do agree it's the end of the road. So maybe what Cam Turner is accurate. Maybe he's been the most transparent out there. We've done all we can do. It's over. He didn't say that, but he did say, I've done all I can do. Just say the consistency isn't there. You got to say stuff that we can see. And we can see it. And you really, any longer around here, can't slip anything past the fan base because they're going to end up seeing it. I'm telling you, week number 1 with Daniel Jones, there is so much. And that's why we live in this tremendous world of so much of this dialogue and this training camp preseason criticism. You can wipe, for the moment, the slate absolutely clean if the selection you made at quarterback goes out there and has a really nice game, and you break one of the more ridiculous streaks in week 1 and wins and losses that we have ever seen around here. If you can do that, and again, with the Dolphins, it's not like the bar is set that high. I know week number 2 is going to be difficult at home against Denver, even though it is at home, but the bar's not set very high. That is a very unique thing about where we are and what we do, is that you can come on with a fantastic performance. I mean, hell, in this case, as I mentioned, the bar is not set very high, so it doesn't have to be fantastic. Can it be just above average for once, maybe? Somewhat clean? Not asking for much right here. But it is certainly an interesting dynamic. You can get your point across. I like the fact that you at least meet with guys and you answer their questions, but sure as hell don't answer it like that. So I get this. You got to stop acting like Richardson was actually a number 4 pick. That was a humongous stretch for a pick in the hopes that he would work out. The problem is that's what it was. There's no revisionist history. I think we all know the background to it. But anybody in any organization anywhere, you cannot whiff this dramatically at a 4th overall selection. It does not matter what excuses you want to pop right now. Nobody, well, except one, nobody is going to survive that. It's the nature of the game. I didn't set the rules. You didn't set the rules, and they certainly know the rules when they accept the jobs. You cannot whiff on a number 4 overall selection. So I'm just acting like where he was drafted and what they were supposed to be able to do and what they have failed to do. That's where we are. All right, we can talk that up if you guys like it, 239-1070. But again, what is really good about living in the world of sports is with one game, you can dramatically, for that moment, flip the script. And then everybody can feel good about it. I think that would be outstanding. And that's what's necessary. We have seen a lot of week number 1 important games, and certainly I have over-magnified all those games to a degree that everybody giggles and laughs about right now. I respect that. I do. But you look at this game and all that is going on, all the swirling, sometimes what seems like the puckering, all that you can do something you haven't done in forever and turn the tide on a storyline that absolutely needs to turn. That's all the fan base is looking for right here. And that's really, you think about it, that's what the coaching staff, that's what Shane Steichen's looking for too. You know, that consistency is consistency enough offensively with the talent built around Daniel Jones in this case, more than what he had in New York, to put out a decent product. And then a decent product within that division with this schedule, a decent product with a decent quarterback, with Jonathan Taylor, Hopefully with an upgrade in the secondary and a healthy secondary defensively, with an edge guy that maybe can put on some consistent pass rush for the first time since Robert Mathis, then maybe, again, within the AFC South and the schedule, you got something working there. I'm not trying to tell you all hope is lost, but it's like a daily occurrence. You just go, what? Oh, yeah, you're asking me this. So would you play Anthony Richardson Saturday? Absolutely. You can't go talk about how much he needs to learn and he just needs time, and then when you've already decided on somebody else for what is going to be that time, he's got provided time on Saturday. You think that lowly of the rest of the cast that's going to be out there, or is that your thought with the quarterback? Would you rather not him go out? You don't want him to look good. You don't want him to look bad, so, hey, we'll just go ahead and ice him because he's one play away. Wow. That is something right there. All right, 239-1070 is the number. If you guys want to jump in on that bad boy, we absolutely can. You know, we're getting closer and closer to the start of the high school football season coming up tomorrow night. Bob Lovell's going to be back on. We'll talk that up in week number 1. And the college football season, Don Fisher made his, so did Bob last week for that matter, their collective debuts on this show in their normal position of Friday. And we'll do that again coming up tomorrow. I cannot remember a time when there was this much excitement swirling around the IU football program. And really, you know, all else is like taking a back seat with that right now. And in year 2, that's going to be something that Kurt Signetti's going to have to try to back up. And we'll see just how capable of that he is. Kind of interesting, too. The dynamic in Bloomington is playing off of what was an incredible season. And then in West Lafayette, it's the reboot. By the way, in case you missed this, I think this news broke earlier today. I saw Zach Osterman had this of the Star. And then in the last 12 or so minutes, it became official with the official Indiana Hoosiers account. Indiana Athletics announces comprehensive partnership with Merchants Bank. Hey, that stirs the echoes. Look at all these old Channel 4 broadcasts and see how many times you see Merchants Bank and MX Coal Companies being referenced in that. And Farm Bureau Insurance, obviously. The 3 majors right there of any IU broadcast in the day was MX Coal, Merchants National Bank, and Farm Bureau Insurance. But this partnership with Merchants Bank, including the introduction of Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. So is it The Rock at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium? We'll ask Don Fisher what the plan is on that coming up here in a little over a week. Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. And that was the news that popped a little bit earlier today. Hey, JMV, both Steichen and Ballard hate to look dumb. If they start AR and he shines, they look dumb. So they bench him and their ego doesn't get hurt. You know, John, 2 things are sad about that statement you just made. One is the statement you just made. The other is the statement you just made being 100% accurate. That's what's sad. Especially about the part of, you don't want this guy going out there and looking good because then you're going to have a week's worth of questions of what the hell you're doing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about this, C. Fitch. I don't know how often. There's some accounts out there I don't honestly go with. The NFL Rumors one is kind of one. Maybe I should. Maybe I'm missing out. C. Fitz says, trade the team distraction away. Not saying AR is by fault of his own the distraction of the never-ending quarterback battle. somebody's always going to think they can do better. It's not always going to come down to the words of Cam Turner, well, I've done all I can do. Somebody out there is going to suggest they can do better with this, whether it's the quarterback's coach or the offensive coordinator or the head coach. I used to be of the opinion, C. Fitch, that would be the absolute wrong thing to do. But you watch the amount of time that maybe the Niners hung on with the whole Trey Lance saga, and then once they did cut it loose, how much better now. They also had the advantage of having a solidified quarterback that I guess they were savvy enough. Some say that Brock Purdy fell in their lap. Others say that they're savvy, whatever. Give credit where credit is due with that staff for finding a quarterback. And they did. And when you have a quarterback, it's much easier to make that disconnection with a guy that was selected that high, a guy of that magnitude. See, Finch, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, you trade him, and it's one thing if he goes someplace else and actually is a reclamation project, like a Baker Mayfield or a Geno Smith. You know, these names that have been brought up. But, you know, at the same time, it'd be nice if the Colts had, and hopefully they do in Daniel Jones, something that is going to be solid where you can say, well, you know, at least for the time being, we have something solid, something that's going to work, and it'll take your mind off of that. And you're absolutely right. The distraction is not his fault. The fault of him not becoming what he needs to be, there's no doubt you got to take the blame, but organizationally, when you take the guy in the spot that you did, if you don't make something out of him, and at this point it's been absolutely nothing, then that's always going to be on you. And again, going back to that first comment that was made on the text line, there's no way around it. You're going to be on the hook for that. You have to own it because that is yours. And these guys all know what they're getting. I mean, listen, there are other jobs to be had out there. You don't have to jack around with these. I mean, if you don't want these, don't do these. But when you have one of these coveted gigs like this is something you're going to have to own. It's the way that it works. Very few get to sidestep it. Now, we've had one guy that sidestepped a lot here over the past 9 years, but very few are capable. And listen, they're not, how many guys, any, that are going to be able to last as long as Chris has with the results this team has had over this tenure. So I'm sure he considers himself fortunate to have this opportunity one more time. And really, for that matter, so should Shane Steichen, because you easily, even going into year number 3, can get as swept up in this as somebody that's been here longer term. And then I will also say, organizationally speaking, with all that is going on, the fact that you guys are going to go and still support and you're hanging in, I know that there's a bit of apathy out there, but the fact you guys are going to support, you're going to hang in, that says something about you guys. And hopefully the Colts organization, they never forget that, because they have given you enough of a reason, multi-reasons over the years here in recent memory to go away until further notice, and most of you haven't. They should feel really good about that. All right, 239-1070 is that number. I mentioned 317-239-1070. How are you guys digging the text line? How are you guys digging the text line? I'm going to go ahead and lob this question out there on the text line. You guys can take it and run with it too at 239-1070. But do you think the reason why Richardson's not playing is because they're afraid he's going to get injured or because they don't want him to look good? Answer that question. 317-239-1070. You can utilize the text line. You can call. You know, that's kind of A and B. If you want to go C and something else that maybe pops into your brain, that's cool too. But let's just consider one or the other. Mike Chappell going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Nate Atkins, which we may consider this his last interview with the Indianapolis Star on the air here. We're just going to have him cut loose and just say whatever he wants. And I think that's what we – here's another question for the text line, James. If you knew that it was going to be your last day and you had another job already secured, would you just cut loose? What do you think?
I guess it would depend on what the job was coming up and how set in stone it was that I got that gig.
Okay. We're just going to let Nate Atkins cut loose. Hey, we have a busy Thursday going into an even more busy Friday, which is going to be an equally fun weekend. And really, it's all going to be a precursor to what's coming up a week after this. We are counting down, everybody, here. We're getting closer and closer to time to have a little bit of fun, to a swan song of the summertime, and do a lot of football. And for a lot of you out there, I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm not one of you in that capacity, but a lot of PSLs. You know what PSLs are?
Enlighten me.
PSLs, pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh.
See, now it just goes by an abbreviation. You can't just go by John Michael Vincent. You got to go by JMV. You can't just go by pumpkin spice latte. You got to go by PSL. Didn't know this? There's really nothing more douchey than that, by the way, too. Other than the way I look today.
I can't say I'm a connoisseur of PSLs.
Jump online right now. There's another question for the text line. Just how douchey do I look today? Because I am like full douche mode right here.
You look like you're about to introduce a new iPhone or something like that.
Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine? I looked in the mirror and thought this would work.
I think this is the first time I've ever seen you wear a belt and dress pants.
A belt and dress pants. What? Who is this person? I'm telling you, I'm trying really hard not to morph in to the douche. I was getting pulled back down in Larry County today. Lawrence County was saying, hey, hillbilly, come on back. Come on back with us. All right, here we are. Think about it, Larry County, a little, and yeah.
Either a new iPhone or you're about to do a really hardcore slam poetry reading.
We'll go down to the river, do a little noodling. Or you can slap on that outfit and look like Rick Ashley in 1989. Quick break, we'll come back. To stream the app, it's HD Radio 2. You got the numbers. I want to hear from you. We have guests. We'll talk with them. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Really butthurt when you read your email.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
In typical fashion of me, I made James run through a bunch of old school 1980s Merchants National Bank commercials during the break that you find on YouTube. Anybody have the Green Machine card? And was the Green Machine card the first bank card? Do you remember what your first bank card was?
It was probably just a
I just remember
Chase
mine.
debit card.
I think I had the Genie because we always said we got to go pump Genie.
I have never heard of that.
You didn't do that? The
No.
Genie? Anybody have the Genie? But I was just reminded, and this goes back to IU Athletics making the announcement today that Merchants Bank is going in partnership with them, and they are introducing Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. And we were talking about old school Merchants National Bank commercials. They were the home of the Green Machine, and that was their bank machine. But the first bank card I can remember was Genie. And everybody would always say, hey, let's go pump Genie to get some money. Of course, we'd all end up getting like $10 out or $20 out or whatever back then. The Green Machine. J-Law writes this: Scott Dolson and Indiana football turned down the offer from the Fubar Lounge to be the sponsor of the field at Memorial Stadium. I'm shocked. Yeah, Merchants probably brought a little bit more money. Now, for those of you saying, hey, is everything going to be tagged with an advertisement? To answer your question, simply put, if you don't realize that already right now, absolutely. Yes. Generating revenue. And I tell people around here this all the time, man. Always be closing. ABC, Glengarry, Glen Ross. When's the last time you guys, I know everybody out there in some form of business, some financial business, especially sales business, isn't it kind of a prerequisite to see Glengarry, Glen Ross? ABC. Just some of the more spectacular acting roles, by the way, of all time put on to. Think about that cast. The young Alec Baldwin, Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alan Arkin, Ed Harris, Glengarry, Glen Ross. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, check it out. All right, do we have a answer to the Green Machine question right here? Jeff's online too at 239-1070. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on with you? How are you today?
Great, Jeff. You got an answer for me?
So here's the deal. I'm an old fart, 56 years old.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm so old. I'm going home to pick up my wife so that we can go out and have dinner.
Are you going to MCL and getting the Jack Benny plate and then going to be in bed by 6:30? You're going to bed after Wheel of Fortune?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm
You're
not
that old then. You're okay.
No, but 50 years ago, 40 years ago, I was in the soapbox derby, and I set up an account over at Merchants Bank over in on Midhofer and Washington Street, just to give you an idea how long ago that was. And I went back. I opened up an account. A couple of days later, I went back and I said, "Hey, I'm doing the soapbox derby. Would you guys be interested in sponsoring my car?" And so I had the Green Machine race car.
That's nice, man. That is badass right there. Was it fast? Was it sleek and fast?
You know, I didn't win. I didn't win at all, but you know, I don't think I cheated hard enough. So.
You're probably right. Didn't grease the wheels and stuff like that. And I'd make it sleek.
It's a good memory, though, man.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
It was a good memory.
Shout out, man. I appreciate you.
Yep.
Jeff,
Thanks,
thank
bud.
you for the call. Jersey J. Russell at 239-1070. Jersey J., how are you?
JMV, my man, how we doing?
Couldn't be better. Thanks for the call, Jersey J.
I am Robbie Tabor's friend, lifetime friend.
Shout out to R. Tabor, man. Yep. Sky Point.
I do call in on your Saturday night takeover. But what I would like to discuss, and the reason they call me Jersey J is because I got 300 jerseys in my closet. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've been a Colts season ticket holder for 30 years. My dad had them from 84 to 86. I've had them from 86 on. But I am to the point now where I'm so livid with these retread quarterbacks. Let's face the fact, we got spoiled with the Peyton years. Everybody asked me, what should we have done when, that we were ready to can Peyton, after the neck injury in 2011, 12, or whatever that was. We should have drafted Andrew Luck, made him hold a clipboard like the Packers and Niners made their guys do. Let him learn behind Peyton, give Peyton a 3-year deal. When Peyton retired, and hopefully we had won another Super Bowl, that Andrew Luck's ready to take over. These, draft picks that they made with Andrew Luck, the Philip Dorsetts, the Bjorn Warners, the Jerry Hugheses of the world, and were garbage. And granted, I get that. That was, Tobin, Grigson, whatever. But they should have been surrounding Andrew Luck around with 300-pound Alabama gorillas, and you take the biggest, baddest, SEC tackle, and that's who you draft. Andrew Luck, okay, did it end ugly with him? Yes. Did he walk away? People say he was a coward, whatever. Hey, he's got a Stanford degree, and he walked away with $100 million. You can't be mad at that.
Yeah.
But that dude took a pounding.
Jersey J, he walked away with like $24 million that he should have just said, I'm not going to play anymore. Here's this back. But no, right. I do get what you're saying, though. Jersey J, you call anytime. Give me a good request on Saturday night.
Hey, what are you liking?
Something from the 80s. Just rock it, and I'll play it.
Oh, we are 80s guys. I love you, JMV. Thanks, man.
Right back at you.
One last thing. My first bank card was with AFNB.
Yes.
If we remember that back in the day, I had what was called a Squirrels Club. Okay, so that you would put so much money into this account, and then you would get this card, and you might have had enough money to go see Burger Chef and Jeff.
Yeah, I got you.
And the worst part. So thanks,
appreciate you,
JMV,
man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate you. Yeah, that's funny. This is even more funny. I did not really think about this. Greg says you have to love a school that has its own credit union being sponsored by another bank. Welcome to 2025. Of course, he's talking about the IU Credit Union, which is not the spot, it's Merchants Bank. Mike is in Brooklyn. Do we have time for Mike right here? Mike at 239-1070. Go ahead, my friend.
JMV, maybe a little Colt movie night, Glenn Ross, especially the scene where it's first prize a new car, Cadillac, second prize steak knives, and third prize is you're fired.
I love it. I thought anybody in the business world had to watch that at some point in time. Did they not?
I think anybody
like a rite of passage.
Anybody like from our era probably has. I've seen that movie multiple times.
Sure.
Multiple times. Yeah. So basically, just chiming in here. This is one of those years where we're just going to have to let this whole thing play out. That's what it's going to be. It's going to have to play out this year and give them a chance to play it out. I'm going to do what I always do for the past 50 years since I was a kid. I'm going to convince myself, and more accurately, most of the time, delude myself into thinking that the Colts are going to win the Super Bowl. And that's the way I'm channeling the 1995 Colts, my favorite year. It took me 20 years to see the Colts win a playoff game. And I was actually thinking there's a lot of similarities between the 95 team and this 2025 team, if you really look at it. And so that's what I'm going to channel. And hopefully that, sometimes you catch magic, like one of those magical runs. And if and that Colts organization, everybody from the top to bottom, this would be the year to do it because you're wearing that JI patch on your jerseys, and everybody in that organization from top to bottom, you've all been there. You are the last team that Jim Irsay put together. So, you should be highly motivated to go out and do something, beyond yourself that you haven't done since you've been there. And if you need any extra motivation, they should just play that clip of Jim Irsay's last trip into the locker room where he said, this is our first, he held up the game ball, this is our first win of the 2025 season, and rally around that, because if you can't motivate yourself over that, then it's not going to ever happen. So give them a shot to let it play out. That's the way I'm looking at it, and I will convince myself we're going all the way.
Yeah. Listen. That's all right with me, man. Be a fan. There's nobody outside of you, the fans, that would like to see a turn of events too, because it is much better talking about a team that is good, especially one surprisingly good, than one that we have witnessed around here. So mediocre or below mediocre for such a long time. I appreciate you, my man. You call again soon.
All right, JMV. Take care.
Mike in Brooklyn. Hey, JMV, they benched AR so he won't get hurt this season. Of course he isn't playing the last preseason game. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear about he needs more time, and then he can't play in the preseason game? Nothing? Not one snap? Not one series? I think you're more worried about how he may look. Nate Atkins, maybe for the final time. Hopefully not, but maybe. And Mike Chappell. Also coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
with JMV.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, that's me right here. I do kind of get a little Rick Astley going on. You know, Tony Katz popped in here last week and said that, asked me if I was going with the Max Headroom look. So, you guys want to hear my philosophy really quick about the whole hair deal? I'm trying to make, and I think I've said this on Home and Garden to Denny and Pat and Terry and Allison before on Saturdays. I'm trying to make my face look longer. A little more sleek. Longer face. What's with a long face?
A little bit leaner.
A little bit leaner, a longer
Gotcha.
face. That's what's going on right here. Plus, if you remember, the two girls made fun of my hair. And then I said, you know what? That's that. Remember? Lindsay and Gina
remember.
made fun of it.
And then you changed it.
And I'm Mr. Sensitivo, and I changed it. JMV, 3 years ago, popular opinion had Indy taking AR over Levis. AR is a bust, but it looks like we would have been in the same boat had they gone in the other direction with Levis. I don't think you can look at it that way. I just think you look at it as a huge bust of a pick, not just for your quarterback, but for your team in general, for any position. I know that it's really easy to cobble together excuses, but holy hell, we've heard enough. And the fact is, with these positions, you don't have excuses. You either you do or you don't. That's why I express my level of disappointment more so than anything else with the fact that they can't have this guy. Think about it for a moment. I'm not talking about elite level, quality level. They can't have him ready to start week one of his third season. So you can give me all the names, you can give me Herndon Hooker, or you can give me Will Levis. The fact that you swing and you miss that mammothly, and you get nothing out of it except a headache. And that's exactly what this has been. And again, you are a part of a sport. You are a part of an industry where either you do or you don't. And there's really no fine print. The way that it is. Isn't that what Bruce Hornsby in The Rain said? That's the way that it is. Some things will never change. Rarely you get do-overs with those jobs. Rarely. Hey, JMV, I want AR on the field with bigger pads, not a quarterback. Yep. JMV, Vernon Stifler here. That's an outstanding name, Vernon Stifler Jr. You suck as bad as AR. Hashtag the tank for Arch. Well, Vernon Stifler Jr., there is going to be quite the discussion as to whether or not Arch Manning comes out anyway. He may stay at Texas one more year. So Vernon Stifler Jr., you going to do this back-to-back years? I should say what's not. Mike in Brooklyn represents JMV. Exactly what's wrong with the Colts organization. The unreasonable idea that where we are as a team and the idea we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure smoking is legal in New York because there's no way that was a sober thought. That's Nate. Mike in Brooklyn is a dude. I like Mike very well. He's just a big fan. It's all right. He can also be critical, but he's just talking about the start of a season where everybody is hopeful. When's Vernon Stifler Jr. going to call this show? I'm excited. Look out for Vernon Stifler Jr. to call this show.
I'll be waiting.
We'll put him right on.
I'll be waiting with bated breath.
Is Nate next? Nate Atkins of The Star. The swan song on this show? A new gig for Nate. Made that announcement on the social media platform X. We'll do some investigative reporting as to what is next for Nate, but talk about the present with the Colts. Mike Chappell after 5. Hey, sit tight. You got the text stream. That is the text line, 317-239-1070. You can also call, get on the air. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Hello, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Give me my theme music!
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Crank it up. This is appropriate for our next guest on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. Don't mind it, sounds really weird. Chicago, everybody. Nate Atkins of the Star. Explain yourself, sir. What in the hell? What's happening?
I'm sorry, man. Preseason comes sometimes, and sometimes you get traded. So
you've just had enough, haven't you? Have you just had enough? Is that what it's all about? of this whole
No,
thing?
I knew how it would. I knew I would come off when I announced today, and everyone's like,
rinse and repeat.
You're tapping out after the latest quarterback change.
Another quarterback situation. I got to go on this clown at 3:00 in the afternoon and his dog crap show. I'm done with this. That's what plays a role.
No, I'm gonna miss you, John. But yeah, just heading off to a new opportunity. So my final game, we'll be seeing the 3s and 4s against the Bengals on Saturday.
Are you going to be doing the same thing or something different, Nate?
Something similar. I've got to hold off on sharing the details until I'm at the new place, but I will be still in the NFL realm and still, writing and going on shows like this. And trying to give takes
so we're not going to lose a guest or anything right here. You're saying
exactly.
Well, that's nice.
You still got my number.
We like that a great deal. That's Nate Atkins of the Star, at least for the time being, joining us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We'll get to preseason game 3 in Cincinnati on Saturday coming up in a minute and the whole Anthony Richardson thing. But thought you made a great point in your latest article, blaming everybody. Why I think we've stroked this up with a broad brush without question. But rarely has anybody talked about the quarterback's coach, Cam Turner, and then Cam Turner had a very unfortunate Q&A yesterday, too, and one that also even more unfortunate was caught on tape that actually heard the audio of, "I've done all I can do." And even though I think we all understand he didn't mean that, that is absolutely positively something you cannot say.
Yeah, I think he was a little caught off guard. I mean, I was asking him pretty directly because I feel like, as we've gone through this for years, we hear so much from Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard and Anthony Richardson and Jim Bob Cooter, and we don't hear as much from the guy who works with all the behind-the-scenes stuff that we're hearing constantly is, the reasons that have held Anthony Richardson back. And so I just feel like as those guys have been kind of dragged through the mud, and deservedly so, they all deserve blame for where we're at. I just thought Cam Turner, it was time for him to answer a little bit about that. And so I just wanted to put it out there straight and see how he would handle it and said, do you feel like you failed Anthony? Did he fail you, or did you fail each other? Because when you get to, if I'd asked them when they drafted Anthony, if we get into year 3 and you're benching for a second time, would you call it a success or a failure? They all would have said failure, and they would have laughed at the idea of that. But that's where we are. And so that's when he said, I've done all I can do. And then he quickly goes, and Anthony's giving great effort too, realizing that it didn't come out the best way to say it that way, but it does show you that, and I think it's true. I think he has tried all he can try. And so what's the balance between, do you have a quarterback that it just doesn't click with on any level versus are you doing all you can do because there's a limited amount you can actually do? That's sort of the chicken or the egg argument here, and it's probably a mix of both, but clearly it has not gone like they planned on it.
Yeah, it is not. Nate Atkins of the Stars on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We don't live in this world, but to me, it would have been better and probably been more appreciated by the fan base had he said, "I feel like I've tried all I can do. He's just not very good," and that's that. I mean, seriously, other than backing that up with he's giving great effort, because then everybody goes, "Oh, okay. So is it your problem? Is it the coaching staff's problem? Is it Richardson's problem?" Oh, I'm sorry. It's everybody's problem right here. It really just falls in line with everything else that we've had to witness here in recent history. But yeah, that was unfortunate because that's something you cannot say.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, from Cam Turner's perspective, that might be where he's at, where he didn't pick Anthony Richardson, he didn't have the power to do it, and so maybe within his role, he does feel like, hey, I've done things I need to do, it just didn't click. That just doesn't work for the people above him, Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, who drafted Anthony Richardson. Shane Steichen pounded the freaking table to get this guy way more than any other quarterback. He wanted Anthony Richardson. And so they also decided to start him, week 1 of his rookie year after 1 quarter of a preseason game because they were that convinced that he was ready to at least put on the field. And that's been the hardest part to figure out this week is that, what we're hearing right now is Daniel Jones won the job because of operation of the offense, pre-snap, cadence, all that kind of stuff that is important. But how was Anthony Richardson good enough to do that off 0 career NFL starts at the age of 21 in 2023 for his week 1 start? but he's not ready in week 1 of his 3rd season now that he's 22 years old. How did he get worse at that over 2 years? And that's the million-dollar question that we're not getting answers to.
Well, and that plays off of what Cam Turner said. And although he hasn't been around for the full ride here, it would beg the question, you go into year number 3 and week number 1, and the guy that pounded his fist on the table, along with the general manager that did it, and the organization, not everybody wanted him, mind you, but organizationally, when they decided to pick Richardson number 4, you can't even get him ready enough to start in week 1 of his 3rd year and beat out a guy that's 20 games under 500 after 6 seasons. That's brutal.
Yeah, it's rough. So either they made a bad pick or they have had bad development, but it's one of those two. Those are the only 2 options. That doesn't absolve Anthony either. It's totally possible, if not very likely, that there's a lot of things he could have done differently, should have done differently. But I'm telling you, having gone down to Gainesville twice that summer, once to spend time with Anthony Richardson at his pro day, once to really get to know everybody in his life, what was very clear to me was the talent was through the roof, of course, as we know. I thought he was a good kid who came from a lot of difficult circumstances, both in his life and just the football structure that he never had. He never went to these quarterback camps. He went to a local high school that was rebuilding down the road. He went to Florida when they were mired between 2 coaching staffs and a lot of cultural problems and no real quarterback training there either. I gave him grace for that, but the thing that was so obvious within all of that is this guy hasn't even had the first thought about football as a job, what it means to be the face of a franchise, what it means to be a leader for your teammates and all eyes on you type stuff. He had not even thought about that. And so if you're going to take a gamble on a player with that kind of talent, you need to do it on the understanding of, okay, we have to teach him all these things that he's never known. And I just don't think they were at all understanding of the fact that he didn't know that. And it always stood out to me that at that pro day, they only had 1 member of the entire franchise at Anthony Richardson's pro day before they made him the number 4 pick in the draft. And that was Morocco Brown, who was there because he was in the area. And Morocco Brown is the only other member of the franchise who is pounding the table as much for Anthony Richardson as Shane Steichen. So that event only served as confirmation bias to a guy that was already, full bloom in love with Anthony Richardson. There just wasn't any scrutinizing eye or anyone there to learn new things, I don't think. And Morocco Brown is no longer with the franchise. So there's not a single person in this building other than me who was down there at his pro day before they made him the number 4 pick in the draft, where I think everything we're seeing now is what you would have seen that day too.
I've never brought this up before because, frankly, there's a lot of other stuff going on. But why is Morocco Brown no longer with the franchise? Are you there, Nate?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Do you know why he's no longer with the franchise other than...
Are you there, Nate? Morocco Brown, I don't know all the specifics with it.
Yeah.
It just sort of became it just kind of became a fractured enough relationship by the end that they wanted to move on. But it was one of the first warning signs to me that Anthony Richardson has lost his last big time believer, because again, the other one was Shane Steichen, and Shane lost his trust with Anthony with that Texans game last year. Everything goes back to the second Texans game, and it was a mix of a bunch of things. It was a tap out. It was going 10 of 32. It was a pick 6 before halftime where he didn't do the audible that Shane was hoping he would do. And it was him after the game, talking about the fact that he was tired, but he also thinks he's a great passer. Like, these are all Anthony's faults. He deserves blame for all of them. But I think it was such a moment that Shane got to where he thinks, I need a certain kind of quarterback, and this isn't it. And everything he's said since then is what he's saying now about operation at the line. Now completion percentage is what matters, consistency, all this stuff that goes against the guy that they drafted, that I think he just is wired to a certain football-obsessed level that I don't think he can even comprehend. A quarterback who doesn't come in putting in 18 hours a day in the facility, that doesn't already know everything about, cover 1, cover 2, blitz pickups. It's a lot of stuff Anthony needs to learn that I think Shane just assumed he either knew, or just by getting reps, being on the field, it would become so intrinsic because the guys he's been around had that already in Phillip Rivers, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts. But those other two who were even young quarterbacks played a lot of college ball, big-time programs. They had this coaching. They had this infrastructure, the offseason work. They had all this stuff to build that. I just don't think the Colts put much of any thought into building that until it was too late. It was late in his second season, bench him after the Texans game, and now they're going to try and teach him all this while he is losing trust in them because they've lost trust in him, and it's been a fractured relationship ever since that second Texans game.
Well, you mentioned fractured relationship. This is Nate Atkins on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, too, joining us. That people had mentioned to me in passing that maybe Morocco Brown was playing a bit of a role of a fall guy. And then people always ask me about, just Chris Ballard's always big on gauging the room, gauging everybody. And, he always tells you guys and pressers that he loves to have his guys give him pushback because you can't be unanimous on every single decision made. Are you aware of how that room ultimately went when that draft came around and they were going to decide to take Anthony Richardson? Were there objectors in there? Because I'd always heard that Ed Dodds maybe was in that room and was not a big fan. But he's the only name that's ever popped up. Have you ever heard just how unanimous or lack thereof that room was on going with him in the first place?
Yeah, so I know that, like I mentioned, Shane Steichen, Morocco Brown, they were head over heels in love with Anthony Richardson. I know Jim Irsay was a big fan of him. He was also a fan of Will Levis. I know that they liked C.J. Stroud quite a bit as well. And it really, if you think about it, everything they said heading into that draft, everything they say now, they're describing C.J. Stroud. And what happened was it started with the combine workout when Anthony Richardson posted the best combine any quarterback has ever posted. And then it was the reports from Morocco Brown day-to-day at practice of the kind of crazy things this kid could do on the field. And then when they did spend a day with him in Florida to get to know him. And anyone who spends time with Anthony just on a personal level, you do like the kid. He's a very bright personality. He likes everyone he's around. Like it's easy to just kind of hang out with him and just like him on a personal level. And so they connect some dots that, hey, we like the person and he has amazing talent. And we have this coach in Shane Steichen that they believed, and I think rightly at the time, can make any quarterback work, which is true stylistically. He's worked with Jalen Hurts, the mobile quarterback. He's worked with Phillip Rivers, kind of a statue pocket quarterback. So they just kind of made these assumptions and connected those dots, but I don't think they really scrutinized the kind of football knowledge and the day-to-day wiring of this kid. And what they ended up messing up was, giving him a job so early. If you're going to draft him number 4, not because of any results, but because of potential, then you're going to give him his first job based on potential. You end up giving a kid, rewards that he has not earned. And so I don't think they were able to build it that way. But as far as the room goes, they liked a few different quarterbacks in there, and that's why they were not convicted enough to trade up to number 1, where they could have gotten C.J. Stroud. And I don't think it would have been that hard. They would have had to, give up some good draft capital, and they would have had to probably give up Michael Pittman Jr. because the Panthers really wanted that. But it was pretty well known that the Texans were so torn between Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. They wanted both of them. And so if they had made it known, we're coming up, but it's only for C.J. Stroud, I think the Texans would have been happy with that at the time. And I think that would have made a lot of sense for the Panthers to only drop back from 1 to 4, or the Bears from 1 to 4. The Panthers were the ones that were going to have to way leapfrog that. But what my understanding was the Colts did not make much of an effort to trade to number 1. They were happy to sit there number 4. They felt good enough about the quarterback options. They had enough believers in them in the room, and then just the belief that Shane Steichen would make any of them work. That's ultimately what drove their decision to sit at 4. And then Anthony was Shane's favorite by far in that draft. And so when he was there, it became an easy pick in their minds.
Nate, it's funny, and I guess there's irony here, that you look back on that draft and we're kind of thinking about it in, hindsight being 2020 as it being much easier as we sit here and talk about it right now to get whom you really wanted as a target at the top than it would be trying to put together something to find a guy for the future in, for example, this spring's draft, as it's starting to look very familiar once again, this team's going to have to try to do.
And that's the thing, is that the 2022 season was such a disaster on every level, but the one saving grace was supposed to be this brought you that rare top 5 pick in a draft that had some very talented quarterbacks at the time. And so that was their time to get it right. And I understand the idea of not trading, a wide receiver to go get a quarterback. I understand liking multiple of those quarterbacks in that draft, but the reality is you have to really have a dedicated plan and go after it for whichever one you're going to have. It can't be once he gets here, we'll formulate the plan. There needs to be more conviction when you're going to go do that. You can't let the draft order spit a quarterback out to you and then decide what you're going to do with him. That's the opposite of what has worked with a lot of these quarterbacks that have had success. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, those teams made targeted trades up for that specific player with a specific plan in place that already fit the coaches that they had on staff. And this one, they just didn't do that. They just assumed that he's got all the talent, he's a good person, and we have a head coach, offensive play designer who's made a lot of quarterbacks work, and we think our roster is going to be good enough around him. They kind of connected all these dots without the central one of, we drafted a kid without a plan, and then we didn't really alter the plan to him enough once he got here. By starting him week 1 of his rookie year, that's what you would do with C.J. Stroud. That's the way that they built it, was to go up and get C.J. Stroud, put him in there from week 1, have him be this newfound leader that a lost franchise really needed, and be accurate and consistent and drive day to day on this. And they could have gone up and gotten him, and instead they saved their picks, they saved their wide receiver. They don't have the quarterback to make it work, and that's why it all feels a little bit futile at the moment.
Nate Atkins is kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group line, I think for the final time with the Star, but hopefully again with wherever he ends up next. So does it make sense to you? Like, it makes zero sense to me, and really there's a shred because of the injury concern. But on one hand, you can't say he needs time, and then when the time is provided, as it's going to be on Saturday, you can't set him. I mean, it's got to be one or the other here. And my point was a little bit earlier, are they more concerned about him being one play away from being in there and him being injured on Saturday afternoon, or more concerned about how he might look, and if he does look good, that being more of a conversation leading up to the start of the regular season against Miami?
I honestly don't think they've thought that much about, if he goes out there and he makes the decision look bad. I mean, it's a pretty skewered decision no matter what right now. I mean, I guess if he went out there and completed 4 passes out of 20, maybe there's a little bit of the fan base that goes, okay, he's really not ready. But they're going to be up against it no matter what, because this is a fan base that, frankly, is tired of the quarterback carousel, and they spent 2 years giving their patience, as Chris Ballard has constantly asked them for, and the reward was supposed to be hope, upside, and development at this quarterback spot, and they want to see it play out. Even I think the calls for Anthony to start are less about they believe that Anthony's good, that it's going to work. It's just that the plan was to see it through, whether it blew up in a great way or it blew up in a bad way. They were going to get their answer, and if it didn't work, you'd move on and you'd find the next quarterback in the draft the way that you're just supposed to do. And so that's why the fan base is where it's at. And it's the phrase I like to use with it is like the paying customers of Lucas Oil Stadium are just asking for the rent to be due, and the tenants are refusing to pay it when they've promised for 2 years that they're going to pay it. So that's ultimately what I think it's about. But I agree with you. It is hard to square this idea that Anthony needs reps. He needs to develop as a backup. You have an opportunity on Saturday for him to get reps in a way he will not get all year when he's running the scout team, and they're not going to do it because they're afraid that he could get hurt and they need him as a backup. That's where the trust is going to further dissipate with Anthony Richardson, because he feels like you're not really trying to develop me for any kind of long-term anything. You're keeping me around in case the quarterback you now are in love with gets hurt, and then you'll throw me out there and say, well, I hope you can do something for us, win us a couple games so we can go back to Daniel Jones. And that's just not a way to inspire him either.
You think at all they would consider at some point, I know he stopped short of it, but his agent is not happy and standing up for his client, certainly. You think there's going to be a point when there is a call for a trade from Richardson's side with his representation?
Yeah, I've not heard this directly from anyone from Anthony's camp, but just looking at the situation and how this normally goes and just the vibe I got talking to Anthony the other day, I expect that to happen. Now, when does it happen? I can't quite say. I don't think it's going to happen like right now. It may not happen till the off season, but I think there will be a point where if Daniel Jones is starting and to stick with him, he's going to look around and think, if what I need is either to play or if I do need this time to develop and really be nurtured by somebody, he needs a fresh start. He needs a new situation, new coaches, new voice in his ear, new belief around him, and then a situation also where the pressure and the scars and the embarrassment aren't there, because that's the hard part. Is like I said, if he comes in for an injury, it's still kind of an embarrassing situation. You lost your job twice. You're only in here because someone else is hurt, and come be our backup. That's, if he goes somewhere else, he's playing sort of with house money the way that Sam Darnold stepped in for J.J. McCarthy last year, and there was an expectation. He wasn't held to the draft status he had with the Jets or any of that, but he was able to then earn the opportunity after spending time with a coach who believed in him enough to bring him in and develop him and put this time in behind the scenes with him. So that's what I think Anthony's going to need. But this is normally how it goes, and all you have to do is look back to last year. Daniel Jones on the Giants gets benched, and he quickly says, "Release me," and he goes to the Vikings. So if they're looking for an example of how this might play out, they just have to look across their quarterback room.
Nate, quickly here before I let you go, if you were a betting guy, would you bet that Richardson is a part of this team until the end of the year?
I would say that's the most likely scenario, but I think it would get really interesting if we get to October. Daniel Jones has the job, and Anthony Richardson's camp puts out a trade request. If it becomes a public thing, that's a lot of noise and distraction to have the backup quarterback, and what teams never want is the backup making any kind of noise, distraction, something to sift through, and that's what they do not want to have happen. So that's going to be their challenge, is how do you keep him engaged in the role that he's in right now, and wanting to be here and keeping it on the tracks that way. It's going to be very fascinating, but I don't think they don't want to. Chris Ballard has dug in on some of this. He didn't trade Jonathan Taylor, so I don't. It's not what they want to do, and obviously a lot of things have to come together for the an offer that they would get. But teams are going to call them about it. They're probably doing it right now because they did it last year when he got benched. And they're going to call more when it gets close to the trade deadline if he's sitting there in a backup role. And especially all it takes is one injury somewhere else. The team's looking for someone to step in and play quarterback. So this is going to get each week that passes in the season that Anthony is not starting, it's going to become more and more likely. But I think the likeliest scenario is he's here until next offseason, and that's when he finds a new team.
Got an outside choice to make this roster that maybe we either haven't talked very much or even at all about so far in camp for the Colts coming out of this weekend?
Well, they do have an extra spot that I thought they were going to have because of the Hunter Wooler injury. Obviously, Justin Wally getting hurt has opened that too. So I don't know if this probably isn't outside the box because people can connect the dots on all the other injuries. But Jonathan Edwards is a guy that I think is going to make it. The cornerback, undrafted player. Right now he could be their number 3 outside corner behind Charvarius Ward and Xavier Howard. And Samuel Womack went down with what looked like a hamstring injury just the other day. They need help there, and they're big fans of his potential. They just really like his recovery speed and just the lack of panic he's shown out there for being an undrafted rookie who has a lot to work on, but he hasn't looked overwhelmed by the situations and all of that, and they like his talent. So that's the one that I would throw out there.
Yeah, it's Nate Atkins, kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. Final time with us for the Star, but you will let us know here relatively soon where you're going, and we shall track you down. We'll keep your number handy.
Yep, sounds good.
Congratulations on the new gig, too, by the way.
All right, thank you very much.
Nate Atkins of the Star. He is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. He has a new job. It is still undisclosed. We'll find out when he tells us. You mentioned Jonathan Edwards. A lot to chew on right there. Text line if you want to go, 317-239-1070. Hey, JMV, this is Ryan from Pendleton. In my opinion, unless the Colts make or win the AFC title, Ballard and Steichen's regime is done. If true, what's the likelihood that AR remains in town and is handed off to the next general manager? Yeah. Does Carly even let Ballard trade AR if she knows she is firing him? I just think that everybody goes at the end of the year, if you know what I mean right there, Ryan. Given the parameters you set out in that particular text. We'll get back to that coming up on the other side, too, because this drama is not going to go away anytime soon. Now, it can be great if they happen to come out of the gate in week number 1 and win, and winning will always cover up a lot of this stuff, a lot of this drama. But for the time being, it's here. 239-1070. Your calls on the other side. I mentioned the text line at 317-239-1070. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member. Do that today. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Remember, mum is the word.
Certainly, but
Mum.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
James giving me some Bruce Hornsby in the range. I believe Bruce Hornsby is a friend of Rick Carlisle, head coach of the Pacers, James. Bruce Hornsby has a son named Kyle Hornsby that was an accomplished basketball player, especially collegiately. Bruce Hornsby. This is a good question right here. I don't know if I have a legitimate answer. JMV, what do you think about the Cracker Barrel controversy with their logo? Well, two things stand out to me right here. One is I have not been to a Cracker Barrel in 20 years, I don't think. 20 years without Cracker Barrel. And it may be even more than that. 20 years ago, 05? Ooh, I think it was even before that. It may be 30 years ago, James, the last time I was at a Cracker Barrel. My grandmother may have been alive the last time I was at Cracker Barrel and sat in a rocking chair and then jacked around with that peg game. I never knew what it meant. What the hell is that peg game, too?
I never figured it out.
It's supposed to be like for a genius, right? The peg game, that pegboard game. I never understood it. The pegboard game. So I'm probably not good to ask. Those are the two things that I immediately think about when Cracker Barrel is brought up. And the fact the one down on 65's got like a porn shop right next to it. It used to be a Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Well, that's got everything you need right there.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're going to go to Cracker Barrel. I'm going to eat a little bit, get in this rocking chair, and then go over and get a little porn. The Cracker Barrel peg game. I've never understood it. But yeah, I'm sorry, I really can't answer your question very well with that. What, 47 years, I think, in business? And we know this to be true. The old logo is always the best logo, meaning if you go to something else from the old logo, double back and go back to the old one. It always is the case. How many new logos really work? That seems like more of a rarity really anywhere, because the old ones are always going to be identifiable unless they're just god-awful.
Well, I don't like the new one because it's incredibly bland looking.
Well, it's like a yellow barrel.
It's
right.
I mean, the new Cracker Barrel logo kind of just looks like a different coloring of the Golden Corral logo.
Who was this old guy leaning against the barrel in the original Cracker Barrel
that's a
logo?
good question.
Look that up. Who was the old guy? He looks like one of the Bartles and James guys right here, but I don't think that's true. Bartles and James. Yeah, 25, at least 30 years without Cracker Barrel. Does it have a name?
Apparently, the man in the Cracker Barrel logo is not a specific person, but rather a representation of the brand, symbolizing the old country store experience.
Gotcha. Not that just a bunch of old people go and sit in their rocking chairs is the reason why I have about 80 of them on their front porch there.
I mean, that is kind of their clientele.
They always have the rocking chairs, the pegboard games, and the bunting. They always have bunting. You know, the bunting is like the red, white, and blue decorations hanging like you would find on 4th of July most of the time. Don't they always have bunting there, too?
I don't know if I remember bunting. I just remember the walls always had a bunch of old-timey, like, furniture.
Oh, that's where you can get. I mentioned this yesterday with the Jägermeister. That's where you can buy bags full of black licorice there, too.
Oh, really?
Yes. That candy. That is some candy that's going to rot your teeth out right there, the Cracker Barrel candy. JMV, does it matter if 5 looks good versus the Bengals' third-string practice squad players? He needs to play because he needs to play. Michael, I will tell you this. While to many of us it won't matter, but to the younger generation that would salivate when Anthony Richardson seriously completes a pass, it would matter. Literally salivate upon a completion. And then point as to why he should be starting. Like, my problem is not with the fact they made a decision with Daniel Jones. My problem is that they have not adequately prepared, nor has he adequately prepared himself to start week 1 in year 3. That's the problem. That's the issue. All this other stuff. But yes, there is a group that would be head over heels in love all over again. JMV, the Colts sound so dumb with all of this. This is a professional franchise. There's a lot of stuff there. JMV, I completely forgot about Hoyer. Sadly, remember the rest. Brissett, Hoyer, Rivers, Wentz, Ryan, Ellinger, Foles, Minshew, Richardson, Flacco, Jones. If you would have told us back during the Manning era that, the better part of 20 years later, this would be it, maybe somebody would believe you because it was bad prior to the Manning era, but I don't think we would listen to you. Say, what? This is pretty ugly. That is true. BT writes this. What kind of 100% prime grade A bull blank is this? Coach Steichen says he wants him to learn about getting reps against the Bengal scrubs. Doesn't qualify, I guess. But it's a good way to learn for Riley Leonard. Oh, I'm sorry, BT. You said Coach Stinkin'. What? If I say that, it sounds like I'm saying that, BT. I don't get it. I don't get it. I sound like the movie Big. I don't get it. What don't you get, Josh? I don't get why you have all this time to play quarterback in a preseason game number 3, and the guy you say needs the time to play quarterback is not going to be allowed to play quarterback. I just don't get it. Although, the one conclusion to draw is pretty simple. This is what we think of this guy. This guy is not going to be any good, and we're done with this guy. That's the conclusion. Like, that would be C. There's A, B, and C I came up with via the text line. The 317-239-1070 a little bit earlier. That would be C. Oh, look here. Shout out to Vanderburgh County. I brought the peg game with us on vacation. The teenagers loved it. Is this true? Teenagers loved the peg game? Like what teenagers? In the 1940s? The teenagers loved it. They would time each other to see who could complete it the fastest. That is our good friend, the awesome Gritty right there. We love Gritty. Teenagers on vacation played the pegboard game. Man, there's no emojis, no video going on there, no buttons, no joystick, no nothing. Hey, JMV, quick question for you. Is Ravensdale still around? Or did he finally end up in prison? Ravensdale, I am happy to report, is still around and also not presently incarcerated. I actually have seen occasionally RD at the Kroger in Center Grove. Ravensdale, we were asking about those that used to be in the old school baggery on WNDE. What the baggery was, it was the message board that many around here wanted me to shut down. I'm telling you, the people that came at me about shutting that down because these guys all made fun of them, and then I'd always come back with, well, look who they make most fun of right here. But I think it was the other white meat that called in from North Carolina the other day. He was a part of the baggery and brought up some great names, some historic names like IHM, that stands for Internet Hate Machine. Nick on the east side was a part of it. Cheesy Nips was there. Oh, it was just a legion of greatness right there. Yes, James?
How does one get the name Cheesy Nips?
Well, he came up with it on his own.
I got you.
I once, and I hope he's still with us, I once saw, and this was like a legendary story, I saw IHM eat. It was, and I forget where the place was. It may have been at where was it? Maybe in the old school Sideline Sports Pub back in the day or something. Somebody made him an omelet. And I don't even know, it was everything that was on the table was on it. I'd probably ketchup, A1, mustard. I still have nightmares over that. But they were fun as hell. And they came out to everything. My man, Andrew Morin, and his lovely wife, Sarah. Yeah, I miss those guys. We need to have a Baggery reunion. Greenwood Red. Man, Dan, when Dan used to be on here, he hated Greenwood Red. and nobody is more harmless than Greenwood Red, by the way, too. Hated him. That's a good group. I'd come up with some more, too. We need to have a reunion. JMV, I hope we aren't in the same boat next year at this time. This is a nightmare. By the way, ESPN said today that the Colts could be a sleeper for the playoffs this year. Thank you, Murph. And I would buy it if Shane Steichen can finally be a smidge of what anybody in the world thought and not a complete mess like everything else. And what he is thinking about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is like when you ever play with an old golf person and they don't come out there, and I don't know why I'm using golf as an analogy. Last time I played was the last time I went to Cracker Barrel. But the old guy playing golf, you just keep hitting it straight. And you get there and you make par. That's what they want for Daniel Jones. Just keep hitting it straight. Just know where it's going. And then you're ultimately going to get there. And then you rely on Jonathan Taylor and hopefully an emerging Tyler Warren at tight end, an emerging wide receiving core. Hopefully and I know I'm saying hopefully in a lot of this, hopefully a playmaking ability of a secondary that you brought in. And then you also realize that this team still is housed within the AFC South, and for the most part, it sucks. So, yeah, a sleeper indeed. It's funny, sometimes when you have the most negativity surrounding you, a lot of people will go with that as a dark horse or a sleeper, thinking, all right, well, all of a sudden if they rise above, this is going to make for a hell of a story, and then you look like a genius. All right, when are we going to have our draft, by the way? When are we going to get our team? Are we getting our team ready for a fantasy league?
The draft is currently scheduled for, I actually just had it up here. I believe it is, let me pull up the date here, September 1st at 8:30. That is when the draft is scheduled for. I can change that.
What's September 1st? What day of the week
It's a
is
Monday at 8:30.
Monday. I can do a Monday at 8:30.
You can do it Monday at 8:30?
Yeah, I don't think there's
right.
any hoop or anything. Monday is normally free for me right there.
Cool. So
that
we
is
still
during
got
the Rockford Files, but I can break away.
So we still got 10 slots to fill. I figure we gotta get that figured out when we're trying to give those spots out. But I mean, I'm pretty much ready to go whenever you are.
All right. So I just have to start filling up this league?
We can do it.
We have to start filling up this league?
We can do it. We can start it today if you want.
Let's just start it today. Let's go ahead and tease it. Give it a good tease right here.
Okay.
What do you think? Good tease.
Sounds like a plan.
We're going to get one participant for our fantasy football league, where samplings are going to be not urine samples, but really good samples that we give away are going to be available to the winner. Correct?
That is correct.
Trying to phrase that accurately. Yeah, the Rockford Files. I watch Magnum P.I. old school all the time, too, James. You ever watch Magnum P.I. episodes with Tom Selleck?
I have not, no.
Well, you should. But it's weird. Like, some of them are incredibly good, like the one I watched the other day with Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker of the Detroit Tigers on it. That was outstanding. Remember, Magnum was a Detroit Tigers fan. So the shortstop and the second baseman of the Tigers naturally appeared on an episode of the show. But there are some really bad ones in there, too. There's some awesome ones, great ones, and some really bad ones. But it's entertaining. For me, at least. Quick break, we'll come back. Mike Chappell at the top of the hour. Nate Atkins a little bit earlier. The podcast at 1075thefan.com. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Have you become a AAA member yet? Now's the time to do it. Perks all the way around, I shall explain. And a fantasy football participant in our league. Also coming up a little bit later on. And the Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. 93.5, 1075 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Talk about your Psalms. Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, wrestling fans. Chris Jericho may return to the WWE when his contract with the AEW expires at the end of this year. James, as a wrestling fan, what would you say about this?
It would be interesting for sure.
Is that Nickelback or Chris Jericho's
This is
band?
Chris Jericho.
Oh,
This is
well,
Fozzy.
okay.
It's called Fozzy.
Fozzy.
This is actually his entrance music in AEW.
Oh,
or
crank
it
this up
was.
for a minute. I'm going to see if this sounds like Nickelback. Yeah, that's like Nickelback Paramore cross right there.
It's he calls it Fozzy because it was, I think they started out as an Aussie tribute band and then they just put an F in front of it. So,
all right, Chris Jericho is how old right now? Does he look better than me?
He is 54 years old.
Chris Jericho's a year younger than me.
He turns 55 in November.
He's a year younger than me. He's class of 1987.
He's still rocking the long hair.
So, that's Extension City right there, buddy. So let's have a gauge inside the text line here. 317-239-1070. Who looks better in their mid-50s, me or Chris Jericho? I'm going to go with me. Now, Chris Jericho going back to the WWE at the age of 54 or 55 by the time he gets there, is this a big deal?
I mean, I'm sure it would cause some waves, especially because with AEW, he was kind of one of their big early gets when they started up. I don't know.
Is AEW like the Live Golf Tour?
Kind of.
Okay.
It's the second biggest promotion in the nation right now. With his age, I don't think he would be any sort of main event status guy, but it would be cool because he had a really good run with them for a really long time. Actually, he was there for a while.
Chris Jericho or me? Who you got? Now he may whip my ass, but I'm going to go ahead and go. I think I look better than Jericho does. No?
Yeah, I mean,
kinda.
He's getting to the point where even as a fan of long hair, I'm kind of like, yeah, you let it go, man, let it go.
Come on, man, let it go. Hey, by the way, the draft day we have scheduled right now is on Labor Day. So Matt says this, draft on Labor Day evening, will you be sober enough to handle that? Well, I may be hung over to handle that, but by that time, we're talking Monday. We got to go to work the next day.
Yeah, it'll be 8:30, so it'll be late enough.
Matt, my work is going to be done Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Besides, nothing improves drafting like a few libations.
Yes, the 4-day Labor Day weekend bender. I'll be like Bush. Wait a minute. I'll be like Bush on Monday evening coming down. Thank you. Kevin mentioned the same thing. September 1's Labor Day. Mike Chappell's going to join us coming up after 5. We're going to give away a spot in our fantasy football league as well. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Hans, Bobby, I'm your white knight.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, I'll be coming down on Labor Day just in time to draft. I don't know if I should be impressed or disappointed that so many of you believe I'm going to be drunk on Labor Day night. It's Labor Day night. We got to work the next day. Like Rossdale's going to tell you right here about coming down. I'm going to be coming down from that. Thank you. So as of right now, September the 1st, we will leave that up as an option. But I hoop on Tuesday, so I don't want to do it that late on Tuesday. Shout out to everybody that's shouting out to me right here. Thank you very much. And also a shout out to everybody that apparently believes that I'm a huge drunk. Thank you very much. All right. Your Cracker Barrel comments are cracking me up, by the way, too. The last thing we want to do is hear anything Steak and Shake has to say about it and about change. Steak and Shake is like unrecognizable than the way that it used to be. That's a quick thought. Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. He's from CBS 4 and Fox 59. Actually, probably now ownership is also going to 13. So you talk about multimedia in Indianapolis. That's Mike Chappell, who's joining us now. Even more multimedia, your platform out of Beach Grove now. That's a big deal.
The more you can do, you know
Yes.
what I mean?
I think you're going to be on everything one of these days if you're not careful.
Yeah, I won't be around that long.
Come on now. Don't say that. You're going to be here.
We'll see. I don't know what I don't play golf. I don't know what I do. I could go watch the grandkids play and do things more, but I like what I do.
Yes.
I still do it well enough, and as long as I can get around. Where else can you find? Again, I always go back to this. I'm one of those guys that fell into. No, I kind of chose this line early in college, and I've been able to do this my entire life, and I love it. How many people could say? What
Yes.
percentage of the population can say they've done what they've loved to do
Yes.
their entire working career?
You know what's funny? I just mentioned this last night. Somebody had asked, and I responded with, I was always told that when you performed a job for a career and it never felt like work, you have the best job imaginable.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I feel.
I believe that. I believe that.
And when people come up to me and say, all you do is sit around, jack around for 3 hours, and
they pay you.
My natural response is, yes, I know, that's true. and then you get the drink, and I'm just described as the drunk right here and stuff. So yeah,
everybody's got to be known. Everybody's got to be known for something.
Yeah,
you know? There are worse things. There are worse things they could call you.
I want, and I've always made a point of this. I want to be known. I want to be where the party is, meaning the party is with me, and then everybody else follows. That's what I want to be known. Above all else, all this other stuff is just fancy window dressing. That's what I want to be known for.
What is bad about having a good time?
Yes, it's not. It's great.
Right.
With all the people, I can have a good time. Like my club is all inclusive.
Why would you bring in haters? Why would you do that? I wouldn't. I don't.
Well, we've got to teach them. What song was it? This was kind of during your Teach the Children Well. Is that a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song?
Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to teach the children well here.
Yeah, the children don't really care about what these older folks think. So it's funny. The older I get, the less some of the younger people actually know. And I used to be one of those younger people that thought I knew everything, and I knew nothing.
My 15-year-old daughter loves the Beatles, loves McCartney, is going to go see McCartney in Des Moines, Iowa, coming up in October, and went to the State Fair on Saturday night. You're going to love this story. And had front row tickets for the Beatles cover band and sat right next to Bill Benner.
Really?
Yes. Laney sat next to Bill Benner. Yeah.
See, Bill's got the life. He's the same as me. He found what he was good at, very good at. He did it forever, and then he transitioned a little bit to the pace of entertainment, whatever. And now he's got his health for the most part, and he can do whatever the heck he wants to do. And good for him. I mean, that's why you work so hard so long, and that when it comes time, doggone it, he'll go ski. He'll over in Colorado, whatever, and he'll go watch concerts. That's what you do. But good for Bill. I say Bill's one of those guys that I go back to as a star, and we had great times. And we had a great product. We really did. People get tired of hearing that. We did. And Bill was one of the. He and Robin, they were the core. They were the sun around which we all orbited. But God, that was fun.
Love Bill Benner too. The other thing I can be in my job is incredibly judgmental, and it's my judgment that Cam Turner should not be allowed to speak in public again. What say you?
I was busy doing something else. I haven't seen a lot of that. I don't know what they can say. Shane Steichen has tried to explain things. I don't know what they can say to put a good spin on benching the number 4 pick from 2023 twice in 9 or 10 months. We always said that if Anthony Richardson can't beat out Daniel Jones, then there's something wrong. And at its core, I think there's something wrong.
Well, there he is. And I've said this, Mike, about the whole situation. We were going to, be critical about whatever decision was made on this. But the thing that I think is magnified and sometimes is lost in the shuffle of all this debate is the fact that we're going on year 3 and week 1, and the quarterback himself and those around him that selected him, that pounded their fist on the table that wanted him, can't get enough out of him to deem him worthy to start. Again, week 1 in year 3. That is such an operational and organizational failure I can't even comprehend.
That's why I totally understand Shane Steichen's decision, and I can argue stronger for this roster, for this season. I can argue stronger for Daniel Jones, and some people would throw water on me, but I can. That maybe he isn't the best chance right now to do something, which is the something is probably a wild card. Maybe the division if Houston isn't any better than it's been. But I always thought that they had to figure out what the heck they've got with Anthony Richardson. And the only way to do that is to start him, and then he either plays well, he gets hurt, or he's inefficient. And then and this is not the way you're going to know. And the possibility of ending up at the end of the season with Daniel Jones doing something, being middle of the road, whatever, I don't know what you've accomplished. And again, maybe Daniel Jones is inefficient, he gets hurt, and then AR comes in and plays well, and then everybody's high on him. That's my only. And again, it's been written by a lot of people, and I've touched on it not as coarse as other people, but they have mishandled this, and they've said that they shouldn't have started as a rookie, but they've just mishandled having a 20-year-old quarterback being the guy from the start, and it's obvious that Richardson didn't fully comprehend what that meant. It just was. I always go back to, and I'm not comparing the people. I'm comparing the situation where they draft Peyton Manning, and they said, you're going to play from day one. And he did. And for the first half of the season, he was awful. He wasn't very good. The light went on at mid-season, like in Frisco, and then he took off. But the whole thing was let him play, let him learn, and learn from mistakes. Now, the thing that has thrown a monkey wrench in it, obviously, was Richardson getting hurt in whatever it was, week 5 or 6, whatever it was of his rookie year, and doesn't play the rest of the year, and he spends his whole off season after that rehabbing. So he was robbed of a year of development. A quarterback who needed reps and development was robbed of a year of that. So even if they had handled it better with giving him more hands-on direction as a rookie, if the injury happens, you're still sort of in the same boat. But I do think that they mishandled it by not giving him more. I don't know if the word structure. What's always bothered me, as much as the injuries, I guess, but even more so is they benched him 2 games last year. Would have been more, but Flacco was playing so poorly. But they benched him 2 games last year because he wasn't as detailed and prepared as it needed to be. That's the biggest sin about a quarterback is you're not ready. I'm trying to think who the quarterback was for Buffalo, Billy Joe Hobart or somebody, where he went in when the quarterback got hurt. He had no clue what he was doing, and then he admitted it. You have to be prepared. You have to. I'm not saying the quarterback has to be the first in the building and the last out, but he needs to be the guy that sort of sets the tone. And I just don't know that Richardson ever understood that because he was 20. I'm 20 years old, and you give me $34 million, my attention is going to waver a little bit. It shouldn't if you're the quarterback, but again, he was such a aberration that 13 career starts, and he was young, and he was coming to a team that was sort of unsettled. So it was mishandled. Now, where this goes from here, I'm not optimistic that he's got a future here. I'm not. But I just would like to have known September, October, if he was. And we're not going to see that, barring, Jones not playing well or being injured. And he's been hurt during his career. So, but see, I'm looking longer term. And they're looking now. They're looking after what's best for Quentin Nelson and DeForest Buckner and Jonathan Taylor and 50 some other players. That's what they're interested in, and they believe that Daniel Jones gives them a better chance to win now, which is another indictment of Anthony Richardson. So it was almost a no-win situation. You're right that however they had done it, there would have been major pushback. I think maybe not so much with Richardson, because we all did polls on social media, and it was 80-90% in favor of Richardson, which you can't listen to that. You can't. It's great conversation, but here's where they are, and I'm not one of those who believes that for a guy that they insisted needed reps, needs to play, now all of a sudden that maybe it's a good thing that he's watching in from the sidelines.
On Saturday, by the way, too. On Saturday when you have time to play. Yeah. And the insurance policy crap, come on. Get out there and play. You can't preach how he needs time and then when time's available, not give it to him.
Yeah, I would probably set him down too, though, because I don't want. He's going to have to play this year. He is, and I understand what you're saying, but if you play him on Saturday, he's playing with third stringers, second and third stringers, and what can you get out of that? Can you get him hurt? So I don't know the value of putting him out there against the Bengals, who are going to play their scrubs probably as well. But you're going to have guys playing on offense that are fighting for jobs. I don't know that I would put him out there with that. I don't know I would risk that because I'm not sure what, other than getting reps, you're not going to play your starting offensive line. You're not going to play your receivers. You're not going to play Tyler Warren. I'd push back on that, but I just don't see how this works. But I'm looking at things different than Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard are.
What would happen if he were to go out there on Saturday and look really good, even if it was against those trying to make a roster?
Then would say, but look who he's playing against. We would. You'd think, well, sure. To me, that would be a no-win situation. If you look good, well, look who you're playing against. And if you look bad, you're going to think, my God, you can't be efficient against.
I understand.
What the Bengals
but
out
you
there.
you can't preach again to us. He needs time, and then when it's available, I give it to him.
It's a hard stand. You're right. But I don't agree with the decision. I fully understand it. It's like in college, I took debate, and they would just give you a topic, and then you got to make stuff up and argue it. I could argue either way. I could probably argue stronger for this team that Jones is the right one, but I still haven't changed my idea that Richardson needs to be the guy. And he said all the right things the other day. Richardson did. I think he sort of, that was their decision, and I respect it. I just think somewhere deep down he had that little devil on his shoulder saying, "Yeah, these guys can, take a running leap." But I hope he handles it well. His time will come here. It will, because at some point, either Jones is in. Can you imagine if he goes out, Jones, and has a bad game against Miami? Can you imagine the reaction at the stadium?
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness.
How about the first incompletion?
The first, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to Jones, but that's, he's a big boy and he's getting paid big money, and so yeah, it's just a tough situation, and I hope Richardson handles it well because his time will come at some point this year. The more important thing is what do they do next year, and we all tend to look more to next year because that's what we do, and these guys can't do that. They have to, again, I've said the one of the worst things about not having your quarterback straight is that Quentin Nelson's best years, most of his best years, and Jonathan Taylor, DeForest Buckner, your Braden Smith, your team's gotten older, and these guys, some of their better years are gone, and that's the crime of not getting your quarterback straight. Is when Peyton hit it, when he really got going in '99, those players were, they were there and they grew together, and this hasn't been able to happen here because of the quarterback instability, and I don't see it changing. What's going to change? At the end of this season, they're not going to know. They probably aren't going to know what they've got. Daniel Jones will be a free agent. There's a chance that Richardson doesn't play much, and you benched him again, for crying out loud. So you're going to draft a guy in the top 10 or 12. I don't think these guys are going to be bad enough. I really don't think they're going to be bad enough record-wise to be top 5, picking your quarterback in what's supposed to be a quarterback-rich draft. And then here you go again. So it's 2 more years for the fan base, which is already frustrated and impatient. Hey, we're going to be okay. We got our quarterback of the future, maybe. Well, that takes time. It just takes. It took Peyton, but it was his second year because they had that really big jump with Edgerrin coming in and all that. But rebuilds take time. It just takes time, and I just don't know if this fan base is really ready for a 2 or even 3 year rebuild. But if this doesn't work, and I'm not sure how it works because of what we've talked about, the fan base is going to be totally impatient.
Hey, Mike, remember you and I had this conversation, and I'm sure it all runs together at this point, but we go back to the end of last year, and I said to you, if Richardson doesn't start and, get that shot of belief in year 3, then why are all these guys around? And that's the first thing I thought of. Why are all these guys around? And I thought that you even made more of that point just now by saying, all right, if this doesn't work this year, here we go again back into rebuild and reboot mode. And all you're doing is delaying the inevitable. And that's exactly how it feels right now.
And I can't push back on that. And my whole question will be if and when Carly and her sisters decide to tear this down to the studs, how many studs you're going to keep? If you looked at that roster and said, okay, we're changing coach, we're changing head general manager, and we're changing quarterbacks, can you name 10 players that you'd say these are keepers?
Yeah.
I don't know. Jonathan Taylor, maybe he's a running back and you replace those guys. Quentin, yes. And Latu, yes. And the corner and the safety you just paid, yes. But there's not a ton of guys. Obviously Tyler Warren. I could probably name 10 guys maybe that they will say these are guys we build around. That's what I'm saying. When you push the reset button, it's not going to be a tweak. It's not going to be a little bit of lipstick here and some rouge here. No. It's going to be a facelift and a major one where you may not recognize the person who was the person for the facelift. So Yeah, I hope it works out because I like the people we're working with, which is no way to judge anything. The fact we get along well and all this. This is a big business, and tough decisions will be made. I'm very anxious about what's going to happen here because I just don't know how this thing works out. I really don't.
Two things before I let you go. One is you got a timetable on when we are going to get a trade request from Richardson's representation. And if you were a betting person, would you think he's going to get his chance? Do you think he's going to be with this team for the remainder of the season all the way through? If you're a betting guy, do you believe him to still be here?
Yes. Yeah, but I'm not. Let's say you get a 5th round pick for him. Let's just say that. I'm not a big fan of 3rd day draft picks. I'm just not. Maybe get more for him in the off season, or maybe just cut him. I don't know. I from having talked to Chris Ballard enough, and even Shane, they do think there's something there. And unless they're just completely blowing smoke, they think he does. If he needs to continue to improve, and doggone it, he's 23. He's 23. Has got immense talent. Will he ever be a great quarterback? I don't know, but I don't think they're ready to give up on him. Now, if the agent gets kind of pissy and does Jonathan Taylor agent type stuff, I don't know. You can't let an agent dictate what you're doing. I hope that's not the case. Stephen had a good story. Stephen Holder had a good story on that, and the agent said what he said. And I understand it. I'm not sure how Anthony Richardson does trust the people making the calls now, because I think he believes he did make improvements in the off season and he worked on it, and he thinks he thinks he did what he needed to do, and they said, yeah, not enough. Go sit and watch. So I can understand how, even though he said, he believes them because he believes what they're telling him. I wonder how strong that belief is. But if I'm a betting man, he's here all year. Next year, I would bet this year yes, next year no.
Hey, in closing here, and you may not have an answer for this, we really haven't even approached the subject before because he just kind of poof and disappeared. But does anybody view, because people have mentioned this to me, and I thought I would ask you, does anybody view Morocco Brown as kind of a fall guy regarding the early stages of vetting and then going really hard after Anthony Richardson? Because Steichen apparently agreed thoroughly with it, and Chris Ballard agreed thoroughly with it. And I'd heard that some over there were not on board with that decision. Who knows what's right and what's wrong, but then all of a sudden, poof, Morocco Brown is gone. Was he somewhat of a fall guy there, or is there something else happening that we don't know?
I would hope there was something else, and I don't know the background there. I've heard a few things, but not enough to put out there.
Yeah.
Scouts do, and he was high up the scout chain. He was, I don't remember his title, but he was high up, director of whatever else, college scouting, whatever it was. And it's those guys' jobs to deliver players and evaluations, and then it's on Chris Ballard and Ed Dodds and Shane Steichen to say yes, no, and I understand what you see, we don't see it. I don't know that it was unanimous to go after Richardson as hard as they did, but I think it was 80-20, 90-10 in favor of it. So they now their options were limited when Young and Stroud were gone, and I don't know how much of an opportunity, if any, they had to go up to one, and probably not to two at all with Houston, to get the guy maybe they really wanted. If it was Stroud, I don't know. But this was a strong team decision to get. I'm sure Jim Irsay.
He had said that if it were they had the number 1 pick, they would have drafted Richardson. Did he not?
Yeah, but you say that after
yeah, you're right. Exactly. Yeah, I had heard that Dodds was not on board with it, but
and that may be. But
yeah.
that to me that's a good thing. it's good not to have everybody, hey, yeah, you're right. It's good to have pushback,
Yeah.
and then it's on Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. I mean, he had to think, boy, look what I can do with this guy if we can get him to grow. And it's obvious that that Richards hasn't grown enough or in the right areas for whatever reason, injuries or he's just not capable, whatever, I don't know. But this wasn't as 100% as Peyton Manning was, but they were, or Andrew Luck, of course, but they were, with what they were at 4, this was their guy. And if Chris Ballard or Shane Steichen didn't believe Morocco Brown's evaluations, then you don't do it. You say, okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, we don't like that. Then you don't draft him. So I would hate that gets out there that, well, we've got to get rid of somebody because of this. What if they fire Morocco like they did, and then Richardson's guy and he goes 11-6 this year as a starter? So I think there was more to it than that. But yeah, this isn't one where you get Carson Wentz because Frank likes him and it blows up, and then you get Matt Ryan because, well, maybe he's got a couple more years and they're sort of all on board and that blows up. I think this is one where they were not unanimous, but enough in favor of Richardson that they did it and didn't look back at the time.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59, and maybe add another one here in the not-so-distant future. From Beech Grove, Indiana. And, Mike, next Thursday, I'll try my damnedest not to be drunk.
Well, there you go. And today, this is great. We finally got a break in the weather. I'm sitting on my front porch.
Yeah.
I'm not being attacked by squirrels, so it's a great day.
You got it, buddy. Thanks, Mike. Next week, we'll do it again.
See you later.
So Mike Chappell on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, less than 10 away from the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day. 50 in betting, 50 in dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
don't know what the hell's in there, but it's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Mike Chappell, Nate Atkins, podcast 1075thefan.com. Go to it. Oh, teaching the children. I was just, for whatever reason, reminded of the quote, mind the stepchildren. You know what that means? Somebody out there tell James what that means. Because you already been in trouble once this week, son. I'm not going to get you in trouble again. Somebody let James know what that means in, how should I put it? Like the Urban Dictionary. Thank you. JMV, this is from the text line. 317-239-1070. You got it?
I just looked it up.
Yeah. That's what I thought of when I first heard that. I don't know why. JMV, could you tell everyone to go see our boy Ike? God, I love Kelly Eisenhower, shout out. I love Ike. That is Kelly Eisenhower and his band tonight at the Noodle. They start at 8 o'clock. Shout out to Ike. I'm assuming Ike's going to be a part of our Mystic Waters Campground Labor Day weekend bender, the 3rd annual, coming up next weekend. We love Kelly Eisenhower. I actually saw Ike because he was with Tommy S. and Nally. That's Nally and his incredible wife, Sherry, all at the Toto concert a couple of weeks ago, which was awesome. But I love Ike. So Kelly Eisenhower and his band at the Noodle tonight. That is a 6 o'clock. Check that. I'm sorry. 8 o'clock start for them. Check that out. JMV, all these guys he's mentioning you want to build around, why in the hell would they want to stick around through a third rebuild? There's zero way. Completely agree with that. Very few. Tom in Noblesville with the check-in. All these supposed experts you have on your show are underestimating Daniel Jones. I like the move. Jones is more athletic than you think. He's head and shoulders above Richardson as a quarterback. Does anyone over there other than Rick Venturi watch the actual game? I haven't even brought him up. I'm more disgruntled against the organization and not getting a guy they drafted 4th overall already and having to do this. But, Tom, that's okay. Shout out to Rick Venturi, by the way. JMV, regarding Saturday and Richardson not taking part, it's not about protecting him as the insurance policy to Daniel Jones. They don't want him to look good. Interesting dynamic. 239-1070 is the number. Paul is up next on line 2. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Paul,
hey, I got to get with it. Yeah, hey, bud, I got to get with you and Jake, get you up some money. You got me hungry thinking about the ribeyes up at Meyer. But what I was going to say is when maybe in, I don't know, November or whatever, hopefully Anthony Richardson coming in once he gets healed, hey, if he can come up and play real well and get him, with, the other guy in there playing and stuff, if he can come up and play real well, you never know. You might get a chance to get in, in the playoffs real high, up into, something like a Super Bowl. Maybe I'm dreaming. But on that, but I'm saying, too, I got to get by the Ale, see if I can find some girl. Do you ever go up there and still do the basketball things? At the Ale?
At the what basketball thing? I go up there and do shows and drink and eat the Hermanakis.
Okay. I didn't know if you did.
Shout out to the Ale, by the way, and ask for, this is a specialty if Todd is around, the Toddanaki wings, and then thank me later, Paul.
All righty, man. But I'll have to get up to you by the Ale and get you and Jake some stuff. I'll have money come up either tomorrow or next week.
Well, just make sure I'm there.
Anyway, hopefully Anthony can work out in the playoffs. And I really like Jensen Franklin. I hope he kicks ass and everybody else. But hopefully run to see if I can find this hot lady.
Hey, Paul, can you double back to the ribeyes of Meyer? Because I want to hear more about that.
You're the one that told me about that.
Well, the ribeyes are fine, but the petite fillets that I got for $2.50 a pop the other day at the Meyer in Franklin. It's a beautiful establishment, Paul.
Now you're making me hungry.
Come on, man. We got to get that petite fillets rolling right there. Yes.
There you go, man. But, well, hey, have a good one. I'll get up to the ale, and hopefully Richardson can pull up. I love Jensen Franklin and all those guys. But you have a good one, man. And
Thank you, Paul. You call
any
anytime. I love these calls. I don't know who Jensen Franklin is, but he sounds great. I love Paul. I haven't heard from Paul in a while. I love Paul. I want to hear more about the steak from Meyer.
It's always a wild ride whenever he comes in
Paul.
or calls in.
Yeah, the Todinaki. When Todd's working, true story. By the way, I believe there's going to be an ale that's coming to a place near me down the south side, from what I've heard. The Todinakis, kind of an offshoot, if you will, of the Hermanakis, the famous Hermanakis. Paul's great. Jensen Franklin. Is that like a country music guy?
I was about to say, I feel like that's a 70s group.
Jensen Franklin. I was actually moving around the dial. I know we got to go here. Moving around the knob today on the dial, and I stopped on 97.1 Hank FM, and they're playing some guy named, is his name Drew Baldridge? I don't know what. But this guy, I thought it was Clayton Anderson, so I immediately text Clayton. There's a song called That's Somebody's Daughter. What's his name? Baldridge?
Drew Baldridge. He's
Drew
a
Baldridge.
country singer.
If I'm Clayton, I'm going to sue this. He sounded and exactly lyrically and voice like Clayton Anderson.
She's Somebody's Daughter. She's
Somebody's daughter.
Yep.
And I didn't stay there very long. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought it was Clayton that was being played on Hank FM. And it wasn't Clayton. It was this Drew Baldridge person. You got that? The song over there?
I've got the lyrics in front of me.
It's very sentimental, is it not, I think? About, hey, that's somebody's daughter.
Kind of seems like, it seems like it's pretty sentimental.
Can you play it really quick? It sounds exactly like Clayton, or maybe I was mistaken.
Oh, there's two versions. There's the wedding version and then the normal version.
Oh, better go with the wedding version because everybody's going to cry that has a daughter out there for real.
I imagine this is what's playing when the daughter dances. Daddy-daughter dance is happening.
Sounds exactly like Clayton Anderson.
Quite similar.
More than just a pair of tight jeans in your car.
I don't know about that one.
You're not playing that during your daddy-daughter dance, are you?
If I'm someone's dad, I don't know if I want a song referencing their tight jeans.
In somebody else's car.
Ugh.
That sounds exactly like Clayton Anderson. I thought it was.
They have a very similar voice.
Some guy named Drew Baldridge. I said, Clayton, man, you got to sue this guy. He's stealing your gig. All right, 50 in betting, 50 in dining. Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson, the Thursday edition. Are you ready? You got your horse? Let's see who wins the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day.
He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Our friend Paul called back. He meant Zaire Franklin. Ryan Ohl was the winner today, the Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino and Anderson Race of the Day. Miracle Maven was the horse. $4.80 on a $2 bet. $2 exacta was $47.80, I should say, and the 50-cent trifecta, $58.25. Your Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. That's 50 in betting, 50 in dining. Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Tuesday through Friday, we do it in the 5 o'clock hour. Before we go on the air, we'll put up the list of horses you pick, and you could win, just like we just had a winner. Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. All right, flood the text line right now. Flood the text line. 317-239-1070. Why, might you ask? Because James is going to pick a participant right now in our fantasy football league. 317-239-1070. Flood it. Flood it like I will in about 3 years. My depends. Or tomorrow. 3 years or tomorrow night. Flood the text. Oh, God. There are people going, you're so stupid. So, sound like Mark Patrick right there. Ron Sexton, R.I.P. Sky Point, the great Donnie Baker, used to do an impression of Mark. You're so stupid. And that floored me every time. Sky Point to Ron, and shout out to Mark Patrick. All right, Bill's at 239-1070. Billy, join the show. How are you?
Hey, JMV, how you doing this afternoon?
Great, Billy. Next week's going to be a big week for us all, buddy.
I'm looking forward to it.
Go.
Hey, if I was Anthony Richardson's agent, I'd be on the horns of the Las Vegas Raiders, and see if they could work out a deal and everything where we can get draft picks or maybe some utility type players and trade Richardson there. It'd be a good place for him because he'd be playing for Pete Carroll, who's got a good track record with quarterbacks, and he could also sit behind Geno Smith because Geno Smith's only got maybe a couple years left, or Geno Smith could have a bad first couple of games and everything, and they would give Richardson a try. So I think that'd be the ideal spot for him, either that or trade him to the 49ers for Curtis Rourke, former IU quarterback, who's the backup to I think Trey Lance out there.
He's a backup to Brock Purdy. Hey, Billy, next week we're going to have a blast, buddy.
Looking forward to it. Going to start tonight.
You got it, Billy. Thank you. Hey, Fulton, go quickly, Fulton. How are you, buddy?
Hey, John. Great. How you doing?
Fulton, I'm great. What do you got for me?
Yes, I'm going to be having my audition for Singing in the Rain.
I love your audition for Singing in the Rain. 10 seconds. Go ahead.
I'm going to perform, let's see, I'm trying to remember the name of the song.
TikTok, Fulton, we got to go.
It's going to be me. That's the song choice for 1945 for the State Fair.
Hey, Fulton, I'm sorry we have run out of time. Thank you for the call. My apologies. We got to run. You have flooded the text line. Thank you, James. Great job out of you. Nate Atkins, Mike Chappell, podcast 1075thefan.com. Same time, same place, here tomorrow. Cannot wait to chat with you. Have a great night.